Hello and welcome to Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are your hosts. Movie Club is the show where we pick a movie every week and discuss it just like a book club. On today's show, we are covering the crime thriller comedy Fargo. So all of this and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 1996, Fargo was directed by Ethan and Joel Cohen and stars William H. Macy, Frances McDormand, and Steve Buscemi. Minnesota car salesman Jerry Lundegaard's inept crime falls apart due to his and his henchmen's bungling and the persistent police work of the quite pregnant Marge Gunderson. It is currently ranked 171 on IMDb's Top 250 and currently has 4.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd and is ranked 205 on its Top 250. It won 2 Oscars for Best Original Screenplay and Best Actress for Frances McDormand. It was nominated for 5 more, including Best Editing, Best Cinematography, Best Director, Best Actor for William H. Macy, and Best Picture. Before we dive into our thoughts, though, we do want to issue a spoiler warning for this movie. We will be discussing plot points, twists, revelations, and so much more here on the show. If you haven't seen the film yet, we'd recommend going and watching it. As of right now, it is on HBO Max, if you have Max, so you can go and watch it there. And then come back here and listen to us talk about it. Stay tuned to the end of the show for what we're going to be discussing next week, because oh boy, it is a big one in terms of placement on these top 250 lists. Mm-hmm. Alrighty, Kevin. So this week was your week to choose, and you had chosen Fargo. So why did you pick it?
I've never seen it, but I always like the cover with the policeman just staring at a dead body in the snow. I just love that little image of it, so I thought I'd pick it just to see what it is. And before we get into reviews or anything like that, I need to start looking at what this movie is categorized as. So we'll just leave it at that and then we'll continue.
Well, it is labeled or genred as a crime drama thriller comedy.
Yeah,
so it is all 4.
I didn't see that comedy part. So going into it, I thought it was going to be like 7 a little bit, and then it gets into this comedy spew and I'm like, oh, it kind of took me out of it, but it was still a good movie.
Well, I think it's in some ways it's nice because you're going into it blind, right? You don't know what to expect. Whereas like this is one of the rare films where I haven't seen it going into the show as well. So that was really fun to do. I had heard so much about this movie, and I kind of knew that there was a little bit of comedy. I knew that Frances McDormand's character was a more comedic in nature, but I didn't know how far this will go. And I think a lot of the comedy in this movie comes down to the situations that happen, right? Like you get these short little bursts of violence, but then it's immediately followed up by like, oh, how are we going to get out of this? Like it's hysterical at points, and I absolutely love it. Like especially when the henchmen go to kidnap Jerry's wife, and she hits one of them, or like I forget exactly what happens, but he's like he has to go up into the bathroom to get like a Band-Aid or something.
He bites her, or she bites him.
That's what it was. Hand. Yeah, so he goes up to get like things to take care of it, and then she jumps out of the shower, caressed in the curtain, and then ends up falling down the stairs.
That was funny.
And knocking herself out. It's hysterical.
And I love when he was looking through the medicine cabinet and couldn't find what he needed until he was knocking everything over off of the shelves too. And it was just like, okay, you're just looking for one thing. Like, why do you need to just wreck the whole bathroom for that?
It's hysterical. I love it, and I think that a lot of the comedy really does well to kind of offset the thriller crime elements as well, because this is one of those like this actually happened. Like they talk about in the beginning of the movie. This event did happen, but they've changed the names and they've and all that. But for the respect of the people who were involved, they actually told the story, as far as I know, as well as they could with what actually happened. So like
Mhm.
this shit may have actually gone down this way, and that's what's
Yeah.
hysterical to me.
Hmm.
And I really think that the big part, and I'll just be honest, I think this is one of my I'm trying to think of what I actually gave it. Okay, yeah, this is probably one of my favorite movies that we've covered since Seven. I think
Okay.
that this movie was just a riot. I think it was hysterical. I think it was really well done. I mean, the Coen brothers in general are just incredible directors.
Hmm.
They can have some movies that are a little bit more hit or miss, like The Big Lebowski is a little bit more hit or miss with people.
Hmm.
Um, but like Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel, two of the most famous movie critics of all time, considered this to be one of the best films they had ever seen, and they held it up
Interesting.
in a really high regard, which is fascinating because they really didn't like Big Lebowski afterward. Um,
Mm.
but like the Coen brothers, like a lot of their films inject this kind of comedy into this more violent or more, you know, crazy story. So I think it's just a not only a staple of their work, but it's just, it helps to keep the tone light.
Yeah, and I like how it is kind of a darker comedy too, because what if you were the people who actually went through this? Do you want a dark film about what happened, or maybe lighten it up with some comedy here and there, and um, just not that saying that this is funny or anything like that, but just give a little bit of like, oh yeah, that happened.
Hmm. Yeah, like, and let's be real, William H. Macy playing Jerry is all of us. If we were in this
Hmm.
situation, nothing is ever going to go the way that you
No,
planned it,
so.
um, and we don't take it very well.
Hmm.
I think it's absolutely hysterical. But the cast is what really brings this to life for me.
Oh yeah.
Um, like Frances McDormand is wonderful as Marge. I will say the accent gets really annoying.
Oh, see, I didn't mind that at all. I loved the accents the entire time.
Like, I don't know. I feel like hers was kind of overdone, like to death. But I think it was still funny, right? Because you don't expect that person with that kind of accent and that kind of cheery nature to be, you know, the police captain or police chief, and
Yeah.
she's hysterical, and her performance is incredible, really well deserved with the
Hmm.
Oscar on that win for her. William H Macy is also the best I've ever seen him. To be fair, I haven't seen him in too many movies where he's considered like, or the movies are considered good, you know. So
Hmm.
like, I thought he was fantastic. Steve Buscemi, as always, is one of the better parts of any movie that you put him in. So
Hmm.
I mean, he's just great. And Peter Stormare, the quiet kind of
Hmm.
like like not horrible type, but like the muscle.
Hmm.
It's They're all fantastic. I mean, the supporting cast. I mean, like Jerry's father-in-law is fine, but you're watching this for the main four, and
Yeah.
they're truly what makes this film great.
Yeah. And I love the little spews when they're riding in the car and he's just being silent too. And he goes, "Oh, so you want to play the silent game, huh? Okay, I can do this all day. What do you want? Huh? What do you want? Like not even 2 seconds. Like those little things I laugh so hard at. And then
Like we're gonna play the quiet game. Being quiet.
yeah.
Not talking anymore.
Hmm. And then when she pulls up to the scene, she's like, "Oh yeah, so there, where's the deputy? I see the car over here," and stuff like that. The way she did it was so funny too. Oh, you brought me a hot cup of Joe. Thanks. It's like, "Wait, you doing okay over there, Marge? Yeah, it's just morning sickness,
Yeah, about to throw up.
and now I'm hungry."
It's great. I absolutely that whole sequence is hysterical too when they get to the scene. Like
Hmm.
the other cop who's not doing anything, by the
No,
way, in that
no.
scene, is just like, "Oh, you all right over there?" It's fantastic, and it's like, but it leads into one of my favorite things about this movie is that it is paced so well.
It is.
Like,
It is.
there's never a dull moment, and
Hmm.
I will say to the end of time, movie length doesn't matter. Like as long as you tell the story that you want to tell and that you need to tell. You know,
Hmm.
like if a movie's 3 hours, if it's worth the 3 hour time, like if it needs to have the 3 hours, then sure, absolutely go for it. This movie is an hour and a half,
Yeah.
and it is so well paced, and it tells an entire story in that time. It is so like I respect that.
And you
Like,
get no like plot holes in it either. It tells it like frame by frame what's happening,
yeah,
and you understand it at the end of the movie, which is always nice to not go back and be like, well, what happened with this person or what happened with this person. So yeah, for an hour and 30 minutes, like telling a story like that, like this could have been like a 2 hour and 30-minute movie,
oh
I
for
feel like.
sure.
But though, and the way they paced it as well, like you were saying, it's just there's not just nonsense going on. Everything has to deal with the story, which I liked as well.
Yeah, everything serves kind of unraveling the the story. I would say it's a mystery. There's no mystery here. I mean, we know what happens, but it's like,
Hmm.
it's all serving to further highlight why all these people, the criminals at least, are inept at what they're doing, and how
Yeah.
stupid the plan is from the beginning.
Yep.
Like, which is the best part. Like, there's it's the stupidest thing.
Hmm.
Like from the very
It is.
beginning, if William H. Macy if Jerry had, swallowed his pride and took a finder's fee and, got what he needed from that,
Hmm.
then he'd be fine. But
Yeah.
he doesn't, because he wants more, because he needs more or whatever.
Hmm.
I mean, like, depending on how big that company is, he could have said, yeah, $40,000 finder's fee. I'll take that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't have happened. But
But
it's
mhm,
still fun to think that like it could have, and he just didn't. Like,
yeah. Hmm.
um, but
Because what he probably wasn't thinking in that frame because he's worried about getting the money, so he didn't do the math in his head. He probably could have had however much money he needed to get out of that debt, but he was like, he can't do it that fast, so he stutters and says no. And I love when that scene where it's like, "We're not a bank, Jerry. We're just investors." So,
it's great. Like
mhm.
every single part of this movie, it's so much fun, and I'm so glad that like I didn't know a whole lot about it going in. Like I knew generally that the film was funny and that it had crime aspects and that it had really good performances and that it was a Coen Brothers movie. That's all I knew. And I'm glad that I didn't know what happens. I'm glad that I didn't get spoiled on anything because I had a blast watching this movie.
Mhm. And I love the dialogue in this too was really funny. Even with like side characters like the first two prostitutes in here, and he goes, "Yeah, he was just like a funny guy. Just looked like a funny guy. What do you mean by that? Oh, he just looked funny, like not normal." But they never specify on what it actually is
Yeah.
that is funny about him. And then another person does the same exact thing.
Yes. It's very much similar to Tarantino's kind of early dialogue, excuse me.
Hmm.
Like it feels like the kind of dialogue that's in Pulp Fiction. It feels like the kind of dialogue that's in, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right?
Hmm.
Like it's not like some of it's not necessarily like you could have just said, oh, he looked like this, he had cheeks like this, he had eyes
Hmm.
like this. No, he's just funny looking because that's
Yeah.
what people say, like, oh, he's a funny looking guy. I don't know
Yeah.
how to describe it, but he was just weird. Like, it's very
Yeah.
realistically written, but in a
Mhm.
way where it almost feels like another reality because it's like this kind of stuff you would think doesn't happen and it wouldn't be as stupid as this, even though it
Mhm.
actually did happen.
It Yeah, and then when she's talking about his height and she goes, "Yeah, he's like a little guy." And he goes, "Oh, so we're looking for a little person." And in my head, I'm thinking of a dwarf. I'm
Yeah,
not thinking of like an actual like just a smaller
shorter
size,
human
shorter
being.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it, it's so good. Like even like when we first meet Marge, and they wake up to the phone, and she has to go to work, and her husband's like, "Well, you got to eat something."
Yeah.
Like you got to eat. Like it's so it's like hyper real.
Yeah. And he
You know,
wakes up, you got to eat something. I'll go make some eggs for you. I'll go make some eggs for you.
We all need to have someone like that
Hmm.
in our lives. Like
But I also,
it's
yeah, I also wanted to talk about that. I don't know if it's the opening scene, but it's where it's all white and then slowly things come into um the foreground. So it was like a bird that came in first, then it was the fence poles, and then uh a car. I don't know if that's the beginning of it, but I remember that scene. And I I love the white snow. I'm just a sucker for like bright like whiteness in movies because it shows all of the dark characteristics of like the fabrics and the fabrics on their clothes and stuff, and then the blood that just spews everywhere just makes it more vivid.
yeah, like having it's basically you're just putting anything onto a white canvas, right?
Hmm.
And so it's going to look good. And I think what really makes this film look good is its cinematography. Like it's shot very well. This is Roger Deakins, after all. Roger Deakins is one of the best cinematographers around right now. Like
Hmm.
responsible for things like 1917, um, and I'm actually blanking on other major films that he has done. Give me 1 second here. Blade Runner 2049, Skyfall 1917, No Country for Old Men. Like he is a really, really good cinematographer. I think he's one of the more awarded or nominated at least cinematographers out there, and it shows. Like it's just every not well, maybe not necessarily every shot is framed extremely well. You know, I'm no cinematography expert. I can't tell you what is good and what isn't. But the
Hmm.
majority of this movie, you know, it's shot way more beautifully than I think a movie like this would typically get.
Yeah.
Probably even way better than the Fargo show is. You know, like
Hmm.
I imagine that that's kind of more typical. I haven't seen the show, so I can't say anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a gorgeous movie, anchored by really good performances, and a story that's just really well told. So, Kevin, this was your pick this week. So, I will go ahead and give my score first. Like I said, this was my first time watching the movie. I absolutely loved it. I think it's perfectly paced. I think it's masterfully acted, and it's just so much fun. Like, I'm actually kind of upset with myself that I hadn't seen this movie earlier. Um, I really, really enjoyed it. Even though, like, the accents can be a little annoying, but it's fine. It adds to the comedy in a lot of different ways. So I think it's not like something it's not like unforgivable. It's just kind
Hmm.
of funny to me. But it's also an easy watch. If you're kind of just getting into analyzing film or getting into films that are like not your typical Marvel films or like big blockbusters, I think this is a great one to start with. It's nice and short in an hour and a half. It's perfectly paced. It's perfectly acted. So I think you're going to have a blast. I gave it a 99 out of 100, which is a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd for me. I absolutely love this film, and that's where I'm keeping it.
You might have to go get that 4K release when you go to Best Buy.
Yeah, I know, right? If there even is one, I'll have to double check.
There is.
Oh, well, then it's there we go.
All right. Well, okay. So my score is going to differ just because I did not go into this with the mindset that it was a dark humor. So I gave it 4 stars out of 5, and I gave it a 90. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad movie whatsoever. That is still an A in my book, but I would like to visit this again in about like 2 to 3 months to see if I like it even more the second time around. Because some movies for me, that happens a lot. Is you watch it the first time and you're like, okay, it was good. And then you watch it the second time, you're like, wait, this is a great movie that I missed little things about. So I
Hmm.
think I'm gonna keep it at a 4 right now. But I'm gonna go back and watch this and see if that score bumps up for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, it also could go down too. You
Hmm.
never know. And maybe watch it with someone else who hasn't seen it before, because that's always fun.
Hmm.
But yeah, awesome. Yeah, so a 4.5 out of 5 and a 4 out of 5. So the question now falls to you. What did you think of Fargo? Go ahead and leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. But remember to be respectful of one another, because we are watching you. Next week, I am so excited. We are covering the samurai classic film Harakiri. So make sure to watch the film before next week so you're caught up and you can get in the discussion with us. It's a special one, and we'll tell you about why next week. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to us here on the YouTube at Real Watchers, and follow us everywhere on social media at Real Watchers, which is REEL. Make sure you subscribe because we have a lot more content coming soon. Rather than, we got Movie Club, but there's so much more we want to start doing. So make sure you're subscribed for it. And thank you again so much for watching. And until next time, keep your eyes on the screen.